Welcome back to Creepy Crawler's Garage and another daily update. The TRX-Z project's getting a bumper, so let's head into the garage and take a look. Don't go anywhere. The TRX-Z project's needing a bumper, and I thought we'd give it a big one. So basically, we're giving it a nice big bumper in the style of what I guess you would call a cow catcher, like on the front of a train. Or I saw in the comments somebody called it a zombie catcher. That's probably what we should really be referring to it as. But it's I'm giving it a big bumper so that when we're driving down the streets of the apocalyptic city, we can just plow through hordes of zombies, or we can plow through competitors' trucks, or whatever we need to do to knock out of the way. This is the bumper that'll do it for us. And basically, I've just kind of given it a shape. So this is basically the shape I want to give it. I did add in what looks like weld lines, so it looks like it's just big sheets of metal that have been welded together, kind of what it's supposed to look like right now. But this is the base for the bumper, and it's just mounted to the original TRX-4's bracket. So I took the original bumper off using the bracket and mounted this to the bracket. In fact, we'll take this off and take a look at exactly how it's put together. But I wanted to talk about it just real quick, because there's a few things I want to do to this first. And before that even, I want to mention, so this bumper, as you can tell, is huge. This bumper would not work well out on the trails. So my thought was that because this is just mounted on a standard TRX-4 mount, I could get more mounts and we could make multiple bumpers. So we could have different bumpers for different occasions. So this would be basically like our shield bumper, or our plow bumper. Then we could have a bumper that was used more out on the trails. So maybe that one would probably have like a winch on it and that kind of stuff. So when we're out in the forest having to do stuff in the truck, we've got that bumper. But my thought was to have multiple bumpers, 3, 4, 5, however many we need. And then in the shop that we build, we'll just have a rack with all those bumpers, and when we take the truck out, we can just put on whatever bumper we need. But anyways, with that said, this is the first one we're working on, which is the big, we'll call it the zombie catcher. I think that works, the big zombie catcher bumper. And there's a few ideas I had for it. I also want to hear your ideas down in the comment section. But the first things I wanted to do, first of all, is cut the light slot. So I'm going to cut holes here for the lights, and then Wes over at Wes Made Builds actually volunteered to cut some styrene with the skull logo in it. So those holes would have the skull logo, a piece of styrene over it, a plate put over it with the skull logo cut out. So when the lights shine through, you have the logo, the skull logos lighting up, which I think would be really cool. And I want to just say a big thank you to Wes over at Wes Made Builds, and make sure and go check out he's got a YouTube channel, guys. You need to go check that out if you haven't already. Definitely worth a watch. But thank you for that. So that's one idea I had. And then I might add diamond plate to it. I think that could be a good idea. And then something that I already worked up and I was going to get your thoughts on is, if this is out plowing through vehicles and zombies and everything else, it's going to take some damage up front here, probably mainly in this area. So my thought was, what I did, if you had to repair this, you're going to repair it with what you can find out in the world. And what a readily available source of metal and aluminum out in the world would probably be like street signs. So what I did is I put this together, just cut a little piece of styrene, painted it up to look like a street sign, put some black over, chipped it back, because my thought was that we would, if we mount this on here to patch a hole, my thought was then we would paint it black to match, but then of course using it some more would get chipped back. So it's kind of the look I was going for. So what I thought is I could mount this, use some thick CA glue around the edges to make it look like it's welded on, and now it's already been weathered. Obviously it looks out of place on this because none of this is weathered. But if this was on here looking like a patch we had made to repair the front of the bumper here. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. If that's something that you think that would look good or makes sense. I think it could look pretty cool once we have all the, like if there was diamond plate all here, this is over top of the diamond plate's all weathered and it's banged up and dinged up, and we put dents in here and nicks and all this, and then we have a street sign that's patched up. There's an idea I had, but let me know some of the ideas that you have down in the comment section. Now what I thought we'd do is just go ahead and pull the bumper off, and we'll take a look at kind of how it's put together real quick. All right, so I got the bumper off so we can take a little closer look at how it's assembled, how it's put together. And if I flip it over, you can see here's the original bracket for the TRX-4 bumper, basically the whole bumper piece I pulled off and then screwed this bumper in place. And what I did is I just made this original piece of styrene to give me the shape I wanted, bolted that to it, and then I can just attach the actual bumper styrene to this shape that I already made. And I've added some bit of brackets and whatnot down here too to give it a little bit of rigidity. I'll probably add more here and up top just to give it more rigidity, so that when this is mounted, it sits real stiff, and when we're driving around, it's not flopping around and looking goofy while we're trying to film it. So I want it to be nice and stiff, like it's heavy, like this is heavy, a heavy bumper and very stout bumper. So I'll add more brackets to give it that look. Because the backside, obviously, you're not going to even see very much. But if you do, it still gives it a kind of a cool appearance with the different brackets and whatnot. But basically, that's how it's assembled. In a matter of, in a matter of putting it together, I just cut some angles and put these two big pieces on first. And then if you cut the top off, so imagine if this was all one piece. This is a little trick for you if you're doing something like this for yourself. So imagine this being all one piece that came all the way up. If you cut it here and then just flip it, that's how you get the opposite angle. So it'll fit perfect, right? So you'll have this, the angle that's going back and then the angle coming forward, if that makes sense, all off of one piece. I mean, that's basically just using geometry in your favor. Kind of the same thing over here. You can get it real close just by cutting and flipping. So that's basically how I got these different angles to give it kind of the cow catcher look and then some flares on the edge. Basically what I would consider to be tire protection, I guess we could say. This is what's out there to protect our tire and also provide the plates for the headlights. But anyways, it's pretty simply built that way. Start with a base, start with that shape you want to get, that you overall want to, when you build this plate, you want to make sure that it's the shape you want and that it all these angles are going to clear the body. So that was kind of the two things I did when I made this shape. And then it's just a matter of adding pieces to it to give it the overall shape you want. And now we're going to start adding all those details now that we have a base to work from. Anyways, let me know if you have any ideas for this. Oh, I know another idea I was thinking of that I thought could be pretty cool. Because basically the hood is here, and then we have our windshield. And I had the comment of adding bob wire to the truck, kind of to protect the windows, which then I said I was going to add it to the Dodge instead. But an idea I had is, it kind of came from doing this idea with, just sourcing stuff that you can get out in the real world. Well, what has bob wire on it out in the real world? Things like impound lot fences, right? So basically the bob wire that's above chain link fences. So my thought was, what if we had just gone out in the world and just cut that bob wire off? So we got a little bit of the post, the chain link, and then the bob wire on top, and we literally just bolted that to the top of the bumper. So you had a little bit of chain link fence, you had the post, and then you had the bob wire up here. We can't go too high because those missile launchers are there, but we had bob wire right up here, or yeah, I would have to stop, I guess, before the lights or maybe above the lights. I don't know. But that was an idea I was having too. Just the idea of taking stuff out of the real world as scrap or as salvage and bolting it to the bumper or bolting it to the truck. I think that'll look really cool. That was an idea I've had of trying to maybe incorporate it. It might actually look good. Yeah, it might look good if you just ran it right here up to the lights or maybe even across the light, because those rings of bob wire are pretty loose. I think you'd still see the lights behind. Anyways, just an idea I had. Let me know what you think down in the comments. So I also wanted to give a quick update on the Dodge, because I want to get this vehicle done also. This is going to be probably our main vehicle, or our main bad guy vehicle, our outsider vehicle. So I want to get it done too, along with the shop truck. And if you remember right, we're going to weather this one very heavily because it's outside. It belongs to the outsiders. So it's outside taking a pounding from the apocalyptic weather. So I want to get it very weathered. And so I want to, with each layer of the weathering I do, I want to bring you guys in and give you an update so you can kind of see how it's done. So already what I did, the body was blue to begin with. I took all the accessories and stickers off, but then I primed it, sanded it back just to give it this rough base coat, flat, a matte clear coat on top of that. So now this was protected. The blue and primer you see is protected with a clear coat that's matte. And then on top of that, now I'm starting to add in the rust. So I want to add in heavy rust around all the edges. And I know it looks rough now, but trust me, down the road, it'll make a lot more sense, and it'll look a lot better. But basically, we're going to add in this base of rust along all the edges and along the windows. I'll probably add some more back up in here, just along all the seams where the welds are, you know, where these old bodies tended to rust. So I want to add in all that rust. And then, of course, from there, we're going to add paint on top of that, which I'm going to go back with blue, with a blue. And then we'll start tearing that all back so that some of the rust starts showing through. And then we'll add some more layers of weathering on top of that. But we'll cover all that as we do it. But I just wanted to show you guys, this is kind of the next step, is just adding in the rust layer. There'll be a lot more rust added to this. By the way, this rust paint has a texture to it, so it gives a real grit and bumpy. So even when you put paint over this and don't bring it back off, you still have that bumpy texture. So it really makes a good effect when you have some removed and some not, because you've got it makes it look like the paint behind it's bubbling, and then you'll have some of the rust showing through, so you know why it's doing that. Anyways, it's a good effect to use. But stay tuned. We're going to add many more layers of weathering to this. And then once we have all that done, we're going to start adding all the melee weapons, which we've had some great ideas. Definitely getting a Mohawk. I think I had a comment that I replied to. We're going to create an 80s punk kind of Mohawk this thing with saw blades and spikes, kind of like a Liberty Spike Mohawk from like the 80s punk bands. I think that'll look real cool. And then a lot more melee type weapons to this. But anyways, that's where we're at with the Dodge. Keep your ideas coming with it. Always appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Thanks for joining me again today, guys. I really do appreciate all the support I've got on this series. It's been a blast to me. I've had a lot of fun. Keep those comments coming down in the comments section. Great ideas. I really enjoy reading those. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this. It does help out in these weird YouTube algorithms that's going on these days. Hit that like button. It's just what we got to do. And if you've watched this far and you've enjoyed what you've watched, hit the subscribe button. That definitely helps out the channel. And hit that little bell thing if that's still there. I think it's still there. Hit the bell if it's there. But thanks for joining me again, guys. I appreciate you coming and stopping and watching. And I'll see you next week. I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.